Welcome to the Christina Lee Brown Environme Institute here at the University of Louisville. I know this looks like a fair amount of fanfare. It's really a milestone for some work that we started almost a year ago in a community dialogue about what I think of as like the third type or the second type of data that might be important to our community. And so I'll just give you the quick background, and then I really want some other perspectives from some people who know a fair amount about working with our community and the importance of data in making change, improvement possible. So just a very quick thumbnail of what we're up to, then we'll have some remarks, and then our wonderful and capable intern who has spent the summer with us, Parker Duff, will walk us through, those that are interested, kind of under the hood of sort of how it all works, what's in there. Interested folks, please join us for a bit of a lightweight charrette to talk about possibilities for what we can do here. So that's the anatomy of today. So the sort of the thumbnail version of this, some of you may have heard of an app that we here at the Environme Institute partnered with Carnegie Mellon to roll out here to do odor reporting. It's called Smell My City. And Pittsburgh has very successfully used this application. They've got about 10,000 individual users who, on a semi-regular basis, report odors in the city of Pittsburgh. And it's been a really valuable tool for the community to build support for things that they'd like to see changed in Pittsburgh for the health improvement of the community there. And as we started community conversations, our interest, of course, at the Environme Institute is in health. And when we work with the community around things like air pollution, we know that the deep concern there is this going to cause a health problem for me, right? If it smells funny, is it safe? And so our interest, of course, is being in the conversation and working with the community to try to answer those questions. Is it going to impact my health? And as we were having these conversations around Smell My City, we had a few community members say, where does the data go? And the truth of the matter is, for a lot of citizen science projects, where people in the community on a good-hearted basis are out gathering some kind of information about their city, there's not actually a logical place for the data to go, which is a little bit ironic because here in the city of Louisville, we're leaders on the government side with what we do with public data, government data. So if the Air Pollution Control District gathers data, they make it available immediately to everybody. You can go download it and you can trust it. That's true with our crime data. It's true with all sorts of the government data that we have. But if you were a citizen who wanted to sort of somehow supplement that, let's say I bought an air pollution monitor and I put it in my house, and I'd say, well, I'd like to contribute that to our community, there just wouldn't be a place to put the data. And so, and this happens in big ways and small ways. So big ways like the Smell My City thing with Carnegie Mellon, where it potentially could be very valuable as a supplementary data source to help us answer a health question. But then in small ways, I've been judging the science fair at the high school level for the last 6 years, and I see all sorts of interesting, bright young people measuring water quality in streams, counting butterflies, inventing new ways to understand traffic. I mean, this is all very exciting stuff, and there too, the data just goes away at the end of the science fair, and maybe somebody would find some use in it in the future. So this idea then, quite simply, is we here at the Environme Institute, because we're interested in engaging with the community and getting these other kinds of data types to round out the picture for us, we have stood up this place to put the data. Now, the one thing that's really important to know is we spent a lot of time making sure people don't think we invented another Dropbox. So if you have your favorite photos and you want a place to put them, please don't put them here at the Louisville Data Commons. This isn't for personal storage. This is for people who have some information about our community that we think others might benefit from. So that's the big idea. So this is another place. It's a companion to what the Metro government does with their open data portal. It's a companion to what private data services do. Sometimes when you buy devices, it just goes to their place, and maybe that's fine. But this is, if you want to share it with the community, this is a place you can do that. So we will go into details about the kinds of data sets that we've put in there. I think they're exemplar of different kinds of use cases that I hope are a starting point, and that after today, anybody that's interested will be very interested in having your ideas. And then the last piece, I just want to say, community trust is a big part of this. And so back to Smell My City, one of the concerns that was raised by the community is, where's the data going, and who can touch it, who can modify it? These are good questions. And in the case of Smell My City, it was going to a server in a laboratory with a very capable person that nobody knows the name of, who could control everything about the data. And I understand a community that says, well, I'd feel better if I knew how it was being stewarded. And so we're going to work hard. This is a hard thing to do, to make sure that we're authentically opening the door to anybody in the community who wants to have a role of stewarding this data, which then means all sorts of uninteresting things like, are we going to approve having this data set up on this thing, or this one's been out there languishing forever and not been updated, so we probably need to take it down. But that's not an individual's decision. It's not a University of Louisville decision. It should be a community decision. So we will work hard to work on that trust, show that it will be a transparent and open process. I want to join Mayor Fisher, Grace Emeril, the Chief of Civic Innovation and Technology for Metro Government, Aaron Drake, who was there with me in the coffee shop a year ago, who didn't know what he was getting into when he said, I think this Smell My City thing's interesting, and who's been a real tremendous asset to getting this off the ground, and Noor Agner from Kindred, who is here today not representing Kindred, but who serves on the board of Brightside, and also didn't know what she was getting into when she said, well, we have all this data from clean and green audits, and where we put it. There are many other people that don't fit up in the front of the room. Ben Reno Weber in the back was good enough to say, well, the Greater Louisville Project has data. I mean, it's a stone soup exercise, so I really do expect, if you know where data may be laying, just please do think about bringing it over to the Data Commons.
I visited TED about 9 years ago after I was elected, I believe, or right before I was elected. I wanted to convince Ted to move back to Louisville because I felt it was important that Metro government have a specific focus on innovation. And in my private sector work, you have to give dedicated resources to both performance improvement work and innovation work, or else people just do daily work all the time. So I believe Ted was the country's first civic innovation officer when he joined Louisville Metro government. Now, almost every city of any size has a civic innovation officer in each state as well, but it all started here in our city with Ted and the work that he does, and now that Grace does. I can tell you all, as citizens of Louisville, we have the two very best chief innovation officers in the entire country, so we've been really blessed by this, and Louisville's recognized. Oh, thank you very much. All right. But Louisville's recognized all over the country for being the number one in innovation, and today's announcement is going to accelerate that even further. I want to recognize Mary Nixon, who's here. Mary is the chairman of the board of the University of Louisville Board of Trustees. I want to thank her for the extraordinary citizen that she is. And the University of Louisville is in such a great spot right now and moving through some difficult issues. The momentum is wonderful. So Mary, thank you and Neely and the rest of the team for all the wonderful work that you guys are doing. So we appreciate you. And then last, I just want to throw a little love at we're here at the home of the Environme Institute. I think when historians look back, at the first 50 years of the history of the city of Louisville, the founding of the Environme Institute and the work that it is doing relative to the relationship between human beings and nature and humans as part of nature will be not just noteworthy for our city, but for the entire world as well. So congrats to Rooney and Ted and everybody, Christy Brown for sending that up, and for the University of Louisville for being aware enough to say, wow, this is a really big thing that we're on the beginning of. So great job to everybody. So with all that being said, I just want to say this Data Commons initiative is a huge step for our city. It's one of the most exciting steps that we've taken to broaden the exposure to what some folks think is kind of boring data, but really, our world is run by data right now. When you think about what Google knows about you and Facebook knows about you, what Amazon knows about you, is one aspect of kind of how data is influencing your life and the messages that you receive on a daily basis. We'll step back and think about all the data that's informing who we are as a city, how our city is running, and then think about how we can put all that together to identify new ways to improve our city. And that's what really gives us great encouragement about this Data Commons initiative here. I don't know if we're the first city. Are we the first city in the world to do this?
Maybe Houston did it, we don't know.
Okay, so we're probably the first city in the world to combine all of these different data standpoints. And what's now going to happen as a result of this is many other American cities will be saying, what's happened in Louisville? How can we do that? Michael Schnurley's here. He's our chief data officer for the city. That cohort of group, I'm sure Michael will all be saying, okay, now what can we learn together and learn from each other in terms of how we can apply this data to improve the outcomes of our citizens here. So this is a big step, not just for our city, but for the entire country. And what I love about the data sharing is how it shows people that we have to work with each other to improve our commons. And when we do that, it builds trust between citizens in our community and trust between citizens and their institutions. Mm-hmm. And it's never been more important. We're living at a time where some people, some leaders are actively trying to break down trust between people and institutions to institutions, and we cannot thrive either in our city or in our country if we don't have trust in each other, if we don't have trust in our institutions. So when we knit ourselves together through data and use that as a common problem-solving source, it really elevates the potential of what we can do as a city and as a country as well. We've seen that in Louisville with the Air Louisville project, with our citizen science approach to that. I saw Naftali Zazweta in here. Where's Naftali? He was a great leader for us in some of the early days of Air Louisville and all throughout that process. I doubt if you'd be sitting here today if it wasn't for some of the work that you did with sensors and air pollution and then Air Louisville. So thank you for helping us in the early days of an effort like this. Then you go on to the Green Heart Project, which is an internationally known project now with the Nature Conservancy and trying to demonstrate how vegetative medicine, environmental medicine can have such a positive impact on the health of our citizens if we understand that interaction between nature and human biology. And remind us all that we are nature, right? It's just back since the Industrial Revolution that we seem like we're kind of separate from nature, but that's a charade when we actually think that. So those two examples, Air Louisville, Green Heart Louisville, are just a wonderful example of how we can use data to improve our living condition and involve people in helping do that. Some of this work has now allowed us as a city to be recognized in yet another area. Just last month, the What Works City certification named the 4 best run cities in America as it relates to the use of data and citizen engagement. So Louisville is one of those 4 best run cities, along with Kansas City, LA, and Washington, D.C. So we like getting those recognitions because it's an acknowledgement of the hard work that Grace and Michael and Carmen and the rest of city government is doing with our citizens. But then it also pushes us on even faster to learn even more, and that's why this announcement here today is going to be very well received throughout the entire country and stimulate many other citizens to move forward as well. I want to thank Brightside. Nor, thank you for serving on the board there and bringing forth your set of data and kind of being a leader in that area to say we've got data. And so what's going to happen now after this announcement, there'll be dozens of organizations that come forward and say, let us put our data in here. Then our citizen scientists, a hackathon, make-a-thon, whatever, they're going to be coming up maybe with some commercial aspects that we can build because of this, but there certainly will come up with some ways that we can improve our community as well. So Aaron, thank you as well for jumping right in the deep end with Ted. That's always exciting and unpredictable, but it's usually good. So thank you for that. And I want to thank Dr. Srivastava for helping us figure out how to fund some of this stuff with the NIH grant that you guys have been using with your Superfund research here in the city, and of course Dr. Neely Bendapudi at the university as well. We're going through a tremendous renaissance at the University of Louisville that we're very excited about at City Hall. Parker, thank you for giving us youth leadership and strong thought leadership on this stuff as well. So in closing, couldn't be more excited to be a partner in this groundbreaking initiative for the country with the Louisville Data Commons. So congrats to Ted and everybody else. Next up is Grace Emeril. Grace is our Civic Innovation Officer and also runs our IT department. As I said, I was bragging on these two folks, but they bring different, they brought different skills to the city's innovation efforts, so complementary to each other. And now Grace is seen all around the country as leading this work as well. So Grace, why don't you share a few thoughts with us?
Thank you so much, Mayor, and thank you so much, Ted. I think it goes without saying that Louisville, the city government, has been widely recognized as being a pioneer in, for example, setting an open data policy through executive order. We created this back in 2013, one of the first, and in fact, our very bold stance of open by default is widely recognized as a best practice. So then, why have a community data portal, right? I think that Ted and I, because we're so close to it, recognize just how important it is and what a vital role it plays for the entire community. But for those who aren't close to it, they might not realize that when we talk about Louisville Metro Government's open data portal, it's for data that the government collects. We collect a lot of data, and we want to make sure that we are transparent about how we collect data and what we have collected. We want to be accountable about how we're performing. We want to gain new insights using that data. And we really want to be able to, in fact, use the opportunity to challenge the status quo. Those are all wonderful things. It all reflects what we call a data-driven form of governing, and it also reflects our values. You know, I'm really proud to work for an administration that leads by our values. In fact, we were recently recognized by GovX and Bloomberg Philanthropies for being a community that does so. We have a mayor who, in fact, uses data but really leads through values, values of lifelong learning, lifelong wellness, and really importantly, compassion. I want to talk about that because if you get right down to it, when we talk about why we have an open data portal, why the community needs an open data portal, is that we recognize that we could improve the outcomes that our residents face here. We know at this point we do not have the healthiest air. We all breathe dirty air. We know that we could have improvements in our environmental aspects. And yet, if we don't, again, let the public, let the community directly engage with that data, collect data of their own, allow that to be analyzed with the data that the government has collected, we're really missing a vital connection to be able to engage our residents in a way that speaks to compassion and action. And so I'm very proud of the fact that the community now has an open data portal of their very own, where they can, in fact, share their data. We know that our community has a really big heart. And part of that is, in fact, the feedback we got as a result of the Air Louisville project. Residents told us that the primary reason why they were willing to be data scientists, citizen scientists, wasn't because they directly were going to benefit, but because they wanted to help their community. That's the heart of Louisville. That's our residents. And so now they have an open data portal of their very own, and we cannot wait to see what sort of new insights we're going to gain together. I did want to, again, acknowledge some people in the room, Louisville Metro employees. So Michael Schnerla, our Chief Data Officer, Ed Blaney, our Civic Technology Manager, Rebecca Hollenbach, she leads evaluations for the Office of Performance Improvement, Parker Duff. So I am so proud of this young man. He served as an intern with us last summer. And when I heard that this summer he was going to be able to participate again in a Louisville-based project, I couldn't have been more thrilled. So thank you, Parker, for your 2 summers in a row contributions to the project. Naftali Zazweda, in fact, also an intern with our office and a continuing community member, providing that very important voice to this project. Thank you, Naftali. That, Aaron.
All right, thank you. All right, well, I'm going to bring a slightly different perspective, but continue the pattern. So Ted had approached me about the project, and I felt like it was going to also offer me, as a community member, a way to publish data and to share the data and to communicate my particular community concerns. But my background, I wanted to bring my talent and capability in to help build the site itself. So some of my notes here are going to be about the project work. So, one of the things I wanted to highlight with the project work is that it's community-based as well. So there's this whole theme of, for the community, by the community. The development of the site is an example of that as well. So I wanted to highlight a couple of places that I pulled team members for the web development. And primarily, Code Louisville was one of the key resources. So I pulled a couple individuals, Marcola Moon, who's not here, Devontre Coleman, who's also not here. But we also did pull Parker in along the way, and he helped in multiple aspects. So he's getting a lot of accolades, but he helped quite a bit with the web development of the site itself. We got a lot of other stakeholder conversations where they helped guide our decision making around what is the best platform to use. So Michael Snurley was involved in that. Brian Norris was involved in that, and then Carnegie Mellon with Paul Dilley. And then we also engaged a lot of stakeholders on how would we want to use the data and how could it be effectively used as a platform for engaging and sharing and multi-directional communication between government and citizens, community to community, different organizations to different organizations, so the whole network effect can really be extrapolated on how this can really take shape going forward from today. So I'm really excited that we're at this juncture where we can welcome new participation in to use the platform now that it has been built with the resources in the community itself. I just wanted to continue to accentuate the point that this is a resource for the community, by the community, and I want you to use it to raise awareness across your churches, civic groups, and government representatives and neighbors. So I also just wanted to accentuate the point that with the data, your position on a given topic can be strengthened. It can serve as an objective point of reference so that rather than going off opinions or just intuition, you can kind of bring it back and just discuss an objective source. And ultimately, what I'd like to see come out of this effort is dialogue, decisions, designing solutions, action, and consequently positive changes in our community. So I think we can all be proud to be involved in that.
Thank you.
And as you know, Brightside has been a volunteer-driven and donor-funded organization, and we have been working to increase our pride of our community and beautify our environment. And all the work that we have been doing, either planting 1,500 trees to increase our tree canopy, or daffodils that you see around Derby time in the spring on 71, or maintaining those green spaces, and even collecting debris. It's 500,000 pounds of debris within the last 5 years, and community-wide cleanups. All of that also equates to data for us, and we have been collecting the data over the years to be able to use it for our internal benchmarking and figuring out what kind of impact we have in the community for increasing the livability or the beautification and the community pride. And now we're thrilled to be able to actually share it with everyone, and we are opening up everyone to Louisville Data Commons to share their data, especially students and teachers. Like Ted mentioned, I'm also on the science committee with Mizik, and we are going to encourage more of our students and teachers to contribute their data so that we can actually use it to beautify our community and also increase our livability, air quality, or environment. We're proud of Louisville, and we're trying to make it better. So welcome to our Louisville Data Commons.